500,000 years. That's how long it had been since humans disappeared from a galaxy. No one knew why or how they vanished, but the fact was clear. Earth had been silent for 500,000 years. Many alien races once feared humans for their intelligence and strength, but now Earth was seen as a dead world, a planet lost to time. Despite the mystery, curiosity had not faded. A team of alien explorers from the Galactic Union decided to take the risk and visit Earth. They wanted to see the remains of the great human civilization, to understand why this powerful species simply vanished. The leader of this expedition was Captain Czar, a tall, strong creature with scales and sharp claws. His race, the Xyler, had once fought against humans but respected their strength. Now he was eager to uncover what had happened to the mighty humans. As the alien fleet approached Earth's solar system, the crew grew excited. This was a place no one had dared to visit in thousands of years. The last reports from other alien ships that came close were filled with fear and confusion. Ships that tried to enter Earth's space were never heard from again. But Captain Czar was not afraid. He believed those stories were just myths created to scare off weak species. "Approaching Earth," said one of the officers on the ship, staring at the screen that showed a small blue and green planet in the distance. Earth looked peaceful. It was smaller than most of the world the aliens had visited. Its oceans sparkled under the light of the distant sun, and its atmosphere seemed calm. There were no signs of life, no cities, no movement. It was a ghost planet. But then, suddenly, the ship's sensors began to beep. "What is that?" Czar asked, turning to his science officer. The officer, a small creature with multiple arms, quickly checked the readings. His eyes widened in shock. "Captain, we are detecting advanced technology around the planet. Strong energy fields, highly advanced." Czar frowned. "That can't be right. Humans have been gone for 500,000 years. How can there still be advanced technology here?" The officer shrugged, equally confused. "I don't know, Captain, but it's there. We are detecting defense systems, highly sophisticated." Czar leaned back in his chair, considering the strange situation. For a planet that had been abandoned for so long, Earth seemed to have some sort of protection still active. This wasn't expected. "Let's move closer," Czar ordered. "I want to see it up close." As the alien ship moved closer to Earth's orbit, they began to notice more details. Large structures floated in space, hidden among the debris of ancient human satellites. These structures were not ruins. They were active, glowing lights and energy fields surrounded them, as if they were still working, still performing their duties, even after all this time. "It's impossible," the science officer muttered under his breath. "How can something like this still be operational after 500,000 years?" The rest of the crew remained silent, staring at the strange sights outside the windows. Some of them felt uneasy. If humans were gone, who had built these defenses, and why were they still working? "Prepare to scan the planet," Czar commanded. "I want to know what else is down there." But just as the ship began its scan, alarms started blaring across the control room. "Captain, we're being targeted," shouted one of the officers, his voice filled with panic. Before Czar could react, powerful energy beams shot from the mysterious structures orbiting Earth. The ship's shields flared as they tried to absorb the impact, but it was clear they were under attack. "Pull back!" Czar yelled, gripping his chair. The alien fleet quickly retreated, shocked by the sudden aggression. The calm, peaceful planet had just revealed its true nature. Earth was not as dead as they had believed. Something or someone was still protecting it. As they fled to safety, one thought echoed in the minds of every alien on that ship. Where did the humans go, and why did they leave behind such powerful defenses? The alien fleet pulled back from Earth's orbit, shaken by the sudden attack. Captain Czar, standing at the front of the control room, stared at the flashing lights on the screens. Earth was supposed to be an empty, dead world, but the reality was far from that. Somehow, advanced technology was still protecting the planet, even after 500,000 years of human silence. "What just happened?" Czar demanded, turning to his science officer. The officer, still recovering from the shock, quickly reviewed the ship's data. "It seems the planet's defense systems are fully operational, Captain. Those energy beams came from the structures orbiting Earth. They were precise, highly advanced, Definitely human technology. Zar gritted his teeth. How could something built by humans so long ago still be functioning? It doesn't make sense. The entire crew was stunned. The humans were gone, but their defenses had stayed strong. What could be so important that it needed protection for 500,000 years? Zar's mind raced with possibilities. But he knew one thing for sure. They couldn't leave without uncovering the secrets of Earth. "We're not leaving yet," Zar said, his voice firm. "We've come this far. Prepare the fleet for another approach, but this time we'll be more careful." The crew, still uneasy, nodded and began their work. The alien fleet slowly advanced toward Earth again, moving cautiously. Their goal was to avoid triggering the defenses while trying to get closer to the planet. Zar was determined to see what was hidden down there. As they approached, the fleet sensors started picking up more detailed information. What they found was even more shocking than before. Buried beneath the surface of Earth, there were massive structures, gigantic underground bases, and energy sources that had been dormant for centuries. "These readings are incredible," the science officer said, his voice filled with disbelief. "There's more energy coming from the planet than we thought. It's like an entire hidden city beneath the ground." Zar stared at the screen, his eyes narrowing. "It's not just a city. It's a fortress." The alien fleet ships hovered in orbit, scanning the planet's surface and the hidden bases below. The more they discovered, the more became clear. Earth wasn't just abandoned. It had been turned into a powerful defense hub, and no one knew about it until now. Suddenly, the ship's alarms went off again. Zar's had snapped up and his heart sank. "Captain, we're picking up movement," shouted one of the officers, panic rising in his voice. Zar rushed to the main screen, where he saw something that made his blood run cold. Massive ships, far larger than anything the Galactic Union had ever seen, were rising from hidden bases on Earth's surface. These ships were sleek, dark, and covered in weapons that looked far more advanced than anything the galaxy had to offer. What are those?" one of the crew members whispered, fear evident in their voice. Zar didn't answer. He knew exactly what they were looking at. These were human warships, an ancient fleet that had been hidden for 500,000 years, now waking up to protect Earth. The warships slowly rose into the sky, their engines glowing with blue energy. They moved with a grace and power that no alien ship could match, and there were hundreds of them, all taking their positions around the planet. "This isn't possible," Zar muttered under his breath. "Humans are gone. How is this happening?" But there was no time to think. The human fleet was now fully awake, and their weapons were aimed directly at the alien ships. Zar knew that any wrong move could lead to their destruction. "Retreat!" he ordered, his voice firm but shaking with fear. The alien fleet began to pull back once again, but this time it felt different. The human warships didn't fire. They simply hovered there, as if waiting, watching. It was a warning. As the alien fleet escaped, Zar's mind was filled with questions. Who activated the fleet? Why were these warships left behind? And most importantly, what was Earth hiding? One thing was clear. Earth's hidden power was far beyond anything they had imagined, and the galaxy would never be the same. The alien fleet drifted at a safe distance, but Captain Zar couldn't stop staring at the massive human warships surrounding Earth. Their size and power were beyond anything he had ever seen. His crew was terrified, yet no one could look away from the sight of the ancient fleet rising from the hidden bases. "How did we not know about this?" Zar muttered, pacing back and forth. He glanced at his officers, but they were as confused as he was. The human ships had not attacked, but the threat was clear. If the aliens made one wrong move, they could be destroyed in an instant. Zar's mind raced with questions. Who was controlling the fleet? Why were these warships left to defend a planet where no humans remained? "Captain, we're picking up signals," said the communications officer, breaking the tense silence. "It's not coming from the warships, but from deep beneath Earth's surface." Zar frowned. "Can you understand it?" The officer shook his head. "It's an ancient human language. We don't have the full translation." Zar felt a chill run down his spine. The thought that humans might still have some kind of control over the fleet was unsettling. Even after all these centuries, their technology was far beyond anything the galaxy had developed, and now it had awakened. Let's see what happens if we try to communicate with them. Tsar ordered, "Send a message. Tell them we come in peace and that we mean no harm." The officer nodded and sent the message, but the crew wasn't hopeful. The last few attempts to communicate had been ignored. Still, it was the only option they had. Minutes passed, and the tension in the control room grew unbearable. Tsar stood by the main screen, watching the human warships hovering silently in space. Their sleek designs and glowing engines seemed to mock the alien fleet, reminding them just how powerless they were. Suddenly, the warships began to move, slowly at first, then faster, spreading out into a precise formation around the planet. "Captain, they're preparing for something," the tactical officer said, panic creeping into his voice. "Their weapons are powering up." Tsar's heart pounded. "Hold position. Let's not provoke them." The alien fleet stayed where it was, frozen in fear, as the human warships continued to move with frightening coordination. Their movements were calculated, as if they had been trained for this moment for thousands of years. Then, without warning, one of the human warships fired. A brilliant beam of energy shot through space, narrowly missing the alien fleet. It wasn't an attack. It was a warning shot. "They're testing us," Tsar said quietly, his eyes fixed on the screen. "They want to see what we'll do." Another warship fired, this time hitting a piece of space debris and disintegrating it in seconds. The power of these weapons was unimaginable. No alien ship could match that kind of firepower. "We need to retreat, Captain," one of the officers said, his voice shaking. "We can't fight them." Tsar knew the officer was right. They couldn't fight the human fleet, even if they tried. They would be destroyed within minutes. But he wasn't ready to leave. Not yet. "We need to understand what's happening here," Tsar said, his tone firm. These ships didn't just wake up on their own. The fleet's sensors beeped again, drawing everyone's attention to the screen. The signals coming from Earth were growing stronger, and this time they were clearer. "It's a command sequence," the communications officer said, his eyes wide with surprise. "The warships are being controlled remotely from Earth's surface." Tsar's mind raced. There were no humans left on Earth. So who or what was controlling the fleet? He couldn't shake the feeling that something far more powerful was happening here. As the human warships continued their display of power, the alien fleet remained trapped, unsure of their next move. The truth about Earth's hidden fleet was beginning to unfold, but it was clear that the aliens were not in control of the situation. "Captain, what do we do?" one of the officers asked, his voice trembling. Tsar took a deep breath. "We need more information. Send another probe to the surface. We have to find out who's pulling the strings." As the alien crew prepared to send the probe, Tsar couldn't shake the feeling that they had just stumbled into something much bigger than they could handle. The fleet had awakened, and now there was no turning back. The probe descended slowly through Earth's atmosphere, sending back detailed scans of the planet's surface and the hidden structures below. Captain Tsar and his crew watched the data stream in, hoping for answers to the questions that had been haunting them since the moment they arrived. What was really happening on Earth, and who was controlling the ancient human fleet? "Captain, the probe has entered the lower atmosphere," reported the science officer. His voice was steady, but Tsar could sense the tension in the room. Everyone was on edge. The screens in front of them lit up with images of Earth's surface. It was a barren, desolate world, no signs of life. The cities that once thrived were now nothing more than ruins, crumbled and overgrown. But below the surface, the probe was picking up something else. Massive underground facilities, still fully operational. "These structures are enormous," the officer said, his eyes wide as the readings came through. "They go deep, hundreds of kilometers below the ground. It's like an entire city was built underground." Tsar frowned. A city or a fortress? The alien fleet had expected Earth to be a dead world, abandoned for centuries, but what they were seeing now told a different story. Someone had prepared this planet for something, and the advanced warships orbiting the planet were only part of the defense. "There's more," the officer said, pointing at the screen. "The energy readings, they're off the charts. It's like the entire planet is a power source." But how is that possible? Tsar didn't know. Nothing in the galaxy's history had ever mentioned Earth being capable of such technological feats. The humans had disappeared 500,000 years ago, leaving behind nothing but myths and forgotten ruins. Yet here was proof that Earth still held incredible power, waiting in silence for all those years. "We need to go deeper," Zar said. "Send the probe further into the underground bases. I want to know what's down there." The probe followed his command, diving deeper into the Earth. As it passed through layers of rock and metal, it started picking up more details, automated systems still functioning after all this time. There were enormous vaults, storage facilities, and something else, something that made Zar's stomach twist. "Captain, look at this," the officer said, his voice shaking slightly. He zoomed in on one of the vaults. Inside, there were rows upon rows of pods, large mechanical pods, all connected to the main energy source. "What are those?" Zar asked, leaning closer to the screen. "They look like stasis chambers," the officer replied, his voice barely above a whisper, "but they're much more advanced than anything we've seen before." Zar's heart raced. "Are they occupied?" The officer hesitated before nodding slowly. "Yes, Captain, they're occupied." Zar felt a chill run down his spine. The humans were supposed to be gone, extinct for 500,000 years, but here, deep beneath the surface of Earth, were thousands, maybe even millions, of humans, all sleeping in stasis, waiting for something. Why would they do this? Zar muttered, staring at the screen in disbelief. Why would they leave their entire population in stasis? Before anyone could answer, the screens flickered. A new signal was coming through, one they hadn't seen before. It was a message being broadcast from Earth's underground network. The science officer quickly worked to decode it. When the message finally came through, it was short, but its meaning was clear. The time has come. The fleet will rise. Earth will reclaim its place. Zar's eyes widened as he read the words. This wasn't just a defense system. This was a plan, set in motion long before the humans disappeared. They had prepared for this moment, waiting for the right time to return and unleash their full power. The warships, the stasis chambers, it's all part of the same plan, Zar realized, his voice barely a whisper. The humans aren't gone. They've been waiting. The alien crew was silent, all of them stunned by the revelation. Earth wasn't just a relic of the past. It was a sleeping giant, and now that giant was waking up. "We have to leave," one of the officers said, panic in his voice. "If the humans wake up, we won't stand a chance." Zar nodded slowly. He knew they had uncovered something far beyond their understanding. The secrets of Earth were no longer just a mystery. They were a warning. "Prepare the fleet for immediate retreat," Zar ordered, his voice steady. "We've learned enough. Now we need to get out before it's too late." As the alien fleet began to move away from Earth, Zar couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. The humans were waking up, and the galaxy would never be the same again. The alien fleet moved swiftly away from Earth, the atmosphere tense with fear and uncertainty. Captain Zar stood at the front of the control room, staring out at the blue planet that was slowly disappearing behind them. He could still see the massive human warships, silent sentinels in orbit, ready to strike at any moment. "Captain, we received a message from the Galactic Council," the communications officer said, breaking the heavy silence. "They want to know what happened down there." Zar took a deep breath. He knew the Council would be eager for answers, but the truth was more complicated than he could explain. "Tell them we encountered unexpected resistance. Earth is not the empty world we believed it to be." As the officer relayed the message, Zar felt a wave of doubt wash over him. The humans had been in stasis for 500,000 years, but now that they were awakening, what would happen next? Would they be hostile? Would they see the aliens as a threat? Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared again, and Zar's heart raced. "What now?" he demanded. "Captain, the human warships are moving," one of the officers shouted, pointing at the screen. The ships around Earth had shifted into formation, their engines glowing brightly. Zar's stomach sank. "What are they doing?" "Looks like they're preparing to follow us," another officer exclaimed. "They're leaving Earth's orbit." Zar's mind raced. This was worse than he had feared. If the human fleet decided to pursue them, it could lead to a confrontation. He needed to act fast, divert all power to shields and prepare for evasive maneuvers. Zar ordered. "We can't let them catch us." The crew sprang into action, but Zar knew they could only run for so long. The human warships were faster, more advanced, and they had numbers on their side. He had to find a way to outsmart them. As the alien ships darted through space, Zar thought about the humans in stasis. They had been prepared for something. But what? Did they know about the alien presence? Had they been waiting for a signal to rise and reclaim their world? "Captain, we're receiving another message," the communications officer shouted. The crew turned to the screen, hearts pounding. The message was brief but powerful. It was a simple declaration in clear, strong human language. "We are awake. We will not be ignored." Zar felt chills run down his spine. The humans were ready to fight, and they were not afraid. He glanced at his crew, knowing they were just as scared as he was. "Prepare to send a message back," Zar said, determination hardening in his voice. "We need to communicate. We don't want war. We want to understand." The officer quickly typed up a response, emphasizing that the aliens had no intention of invading or harming Earth. They were merely explorers who had stumbled upon something far greater than themselves. As they sent the message, Zar felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe the humans would listen. Maybe they could find a way to coexist. But the human warships continued to follow, moving closer with every passing moment. The alien fleet executed evasive maneuvers, darting through asteroids and debris, but the humans were relentless. Then, without warning, the lead human warship fired. The energy beam sliced through space, narrowly missing the alien fleet and exploding against a nearby asteroid. "Captain, they mean business," one of the officers shouted, fear evident in his voice. Zar knew they had to act quickly. "Signal the fleet. We're going to make a stand here. Prepare for possible engagement. But let's not fire unless absolutely necessary." As the alien fleet regrouped, Zar's mind raced. He couldn't shake the feeling that this confrontation was not just about the present, but also about the future of both species. Suddenly, another message came through from the human fleet. "We seek peace. Identify yourselves." Zar's heart lifted. This was the chance they had been waiting for. He quickly relayed their identity and intentions, hoping it would reach the humans before tensions escalated further. Minutes felt like hours as they waited for a response. Finally, a reply came. "We remember the past. We will listen." Zar breathed a sigh of relief. The humans were willing to negotiate. This could lead to a new beginning, a chance for understanding between two species that had been apart for so long. As the alien fleet and the human warships hovered in the vastness of space, both sides prepared for a historic meeting. The return of humanity would not lead to destruction, but rather to a chance for cooperation and a shared future. Zar looked out at the human warships, realizing that they were no longer enemies. They were allies in the making, and the galaxy was about to witness a new chapter in its history.